Welcome to the bold analysis. I want to start by asking you, good Kenyans, and if you are an expert in this space, you are better placed even to give a response on this. To what extent do you think that the affordable housing project that William Ruto floated has helped to address the housing problem? I am asking this because there was a report, I think it was published last week in one of the newspapers here, that government is even contemplating of reducing the rates of these houses because a number of houses, especially in urban centers, are still deserted. They are lying deserted, they have not gotten occupants, and you will see adverts running of units available for grab. But that seems not to be the problem. Why? I am raising this because today, immediately the 3-bench High Court judges decided or gave a ruling that rendered the housing levy unconstitutional. The tables turned and the state was actually caught off guard, only for the judges to come back and to retract. I want us to look at that, but then starting us off is the soundbite of the judges.
We have looked at the responses by the respondents. The key submission is that the national government enjoys the prerogative and latitude to impose taxes as a means of achieving the objective of realizing the right to housing. They did not answer why the tax falls upon employed formal workers as opposed to other taxpayers or non-taxpayers. In Okello and another versus National Assembly and others, Odunga J stated that taxes need not look the same and selective taxes may be applied to different actors for different reasons, such as to address distribution and equity. Hence, the tax need not be similar to another for it to be rational and discrimination. We add that for any legislation to pass the rule of law test, it must have a rational connection to a legitimate government purpose. Otherwise, the tax legislation would be arbitrary and unconstitutional. It's therefore the duty of the state to provide a rational explanation for the manner in which the tax is involved. In absence of a rational explanation for the manner in which the housing levy was enacted, we can only conclude that the respondents took the easy path of least resistance, as taxing employees. Informal employment is easier. It is also the respondent's constitutional responsibility to create a broad, efficient, fair tax system that complies with Article 201(b)(1) of the Constitution and the taxes levied against persons in formal employment to the exclusion of all other non-formal earners to support a national policy without a clear justification is discriminatory, irrational, and arbitrary in violation of 27(201)(b)(1) of the Constitution and therefore unconstitutional for those reasons. In the Court of Appeal, in Kenya Revenue Authority versus Waweru stated that explained the principle of unfair taxation under 201(b) as follows. On the issue as to whether the imposition of minimum tax results in unfair and contrary to Section 201, the threshold for fairness is ensuring that everyone bears their fair share of taxation and pays the correct amount, which is seen to be fair by vigorous pursuit of tax avoidance and evasion. The petitioners have assailed the housing levy on the ground that it will result in lowering salaries of judges, hence is in violation of Article 164 of the Constitution, and we find that the introduction of the housing levy amendment to Section 84 lacks a comprehensive legal framework in violation of Article 10(201) 2010 of the Constitution. That levy against persons in formal employment to the exclusion of other non-formal income earners without justification is discriminatory and irrational and arbitrarily and in violation of Articles 27(201)(b)(1) of the Constitution. And flowing from those findings, we find as follows that, and these are our declarations, Section 76 to 78 of the Finance Act, amending Section 7 of the Roads Board Act, 87, amending Section 28 of the Unclaimed Assets Act, Section 88 and 89, repealing Section 29 of the Statutory Instruments Act, are unconstitutional, null and void. That Section 84 of the Finance Act violates Article 10, 2BC, 27 and 201 of the Constitution and is therefore null and void.
And now I'm introducing the housing fund because that's the elephant in the room. Now, let me just make a guess. I don't know what is the solution. So, today, you know, nyinyi hamuelewi hii maneno. Quite honest, this is what I call a sweetheart deal. Now, so, another venye nimesweat. Doubt you. Sorry, you're going to have that. Sorry, I'm very normally animated. Guess what? You know, you see why I am struggling. Piki ponki na. How can I?
So these judges ruled that it was unconstitutional, and they are arguing that the housing levy did not meet the tax justice, because they are trying to argue there is no way you can tax the formal sector without the informal sector while the project is cutting across. It's a national project, but if the government cannot have a framework of ensuring that the levy is levied across both informal and formal sector, then it is unconstitutional. And according to them, it is very clear that William Ruto and the team actually rushed it down the payroll team, because the judge is saying that there is a possibility that the government just took advantage of less resistance from the salaried Kenyans. Most salaried Kenyans work from government and private sector. So even that area, they could not resist. You know, the managers and founders of companies could not resist, because if you resist, you never know, KRA might be in your door tomorrow complaining about some trumped up charges and taxes he left, right and center. So the salaried Kenyans had less resistance, because of course they're working for government. How about if you're fired? They're working for companies. How about if the company is blacklisted? And there was a lot of challenges on that. Now, some time back, Nyakango argued, and the Controller of Budget said that in her chit chat with some Kenyans argued that while the program is good, but they're just doubting, will we get the houses? And the answer of getting the houses, that answer has never been given. So the Refund Our Money chorus had started gathering steam. The judges came back and offered stay order. So it was a very clear point that maybe there was a call from elsewhere. And maybe let us listen to how Ruto and Rigathi reacted. In fact, Rigathi was begging that you should not sabotage the housing fund, and even Ruto has reacted to that. Here.
More people earning a decent wage. And that is the reason why I told you there are 3 things that I am going to do in my tenure. That number 1, we will have a robust housing program. Not because we are looking for houses necessarily, but because housing creates millions of jobs. And I want to report to you, Secretary General and the leadership of the labor movement here, that in the last 8 months, we have created 120,000 jobs from our housing plan. So that commitment I have made, and as I told you, I have kept that commitment. We now have 120,000. And my
shelter is a constitutional requirement. We want Kenyans to have shelter. And not just shelter, but dignified shelter with proper sanitation, so that people can be dignified. Number 2, that strategy, and we need your support is also to create employment for our young people. I am aware that people have gone to court to try to suspend the housing levy and to sabotage the housing program. Much as we respect the independence of the judiciary, I want to request our judges to exercise judicial discretion and not sabotage that program. We have thousands of young people today who are now engaged in a housing program. That program will dignify the people of Kenya. It is the desire of every Kenyan who live in an urban center to own a home one day.
So even this reaction will tell you that government is a bit caught off guard, but the way they have made sure that it's done, you know, unconstitutional, but stay orders offered until January 24th, I think January 10th, that is to make sure that that conversation dies there. It was to make sure that they silence the issue of levies, the levies being lifted. Because if that was not the case, Kenyans had started asking about where is our money? We're seeking the refund. Now, immediately that ruling was given, the judges came back and gave stay orders, stayed the orders following an application that was done by KRA, Attorney General, Speaker, and other state officers. Now, my friend Wala, who is a lawyer, just called me and telling me, Kevin, in fact, he's the person who really brought this to me. That have you seen what happened in the High Court? I'm like, what was it? Then according to him, and people in the law space can tell me, that why do you think government rushed to make sure that stay orders are given just some few minutes after the verdict came out? And number two, why the same judges? Because someone said that it would have taken even, it was not a must them. And according to my good friend, he's saying that was directly a call from higher office. Because they retracted, and remember, immediately the verdict came out, there was celebration across government offices. Yeah, I think you will see those videos in social media, how people are celebrating and immediately started demanding refund our money now. Now I want you to bring this to attention, just in respect to this issue of housing levy. Have you realized that contrary to the main objective why the 1.5% was levied, and maybe some people don't know, here is that to encourage, of course, government is going to encourage affordable housing programs through PPP. And because some investors were not willing to build houses in areas that maybe are not promising in terms of making business value, this one was to be put somewhere as a standby, so that if an investor puts up his billions and builds some house somewhere in the middle of Marsabit and there are no people to occupy that house, then government will pay him and take the keys. Now, there were two objectives of housing fund. It was one, to give us the dignified life and afford and solve the housing problem, which of course it's a perennial problem we've had in the country. But we insisted, and I remember analyzing that the problem is not a housing problem. The problem is an income problem. Those who have money can afford decent houses. We don't have scarcity of houses in this city. We have very good houses. If today you want to pay your rent 100,000, you will get. If you want to pay your 20,000, you will get. But because you can only afford 2,000, you'll just have to squeeze yourself in Kibera. You know? And we insisted on that. Now you will realize that William Ruto is normally speaking visibility of affordable housing, only narrowing down on the issue of jobs. In fact, Kenyans are only being told one side of the story, that 120,000 jobs have been created. And remember, these are not contract, pensionable, or permanent jobs. They're jobs that when the houses are complete, you leave and maybe you're again rendered jobless. So 120 jobs have been created, 120,000 jobs have been created, and again the same group, 120,000 people after some 2 or 3 months have also been rendered jobless. So, listen to that. And that is what I've been saying. That the issue of affordable housing has only been discussed and explained in terms of jobs created. But no one is coming out openly to speak about the other part, the merit in terms of people getting dignified life. Now, I realized something. There is a high probability that the executive were caught off guard by the judgment from that verdict from High Court, and lately they decided to swing into action. So on this I want to look at the secrecy why Ruto is silencing the housing levy debate. If there is a debate President Ruto do not want to continue, is about the housing levy. And that is why immediately that verdict came out, those stay orders had to be given, and to make sure that things remain as they are. Before I explain that, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos. Thank you very much for those who are supporting us from different sides of the globe. I am grateful for your support, and of course I want to say that I share my sympathies with family of Sally Kwendo, former journalist, not a former journalist, actually already a journalist, radio queen from, I think that is Vihiga if I'm not wrong. Yeah, there is another microphone has gone off. I think I shared that. Yeah, it's been around and following on that. Sometimes that's what it is. That's what life is. But then we need to be objective. Kenyans, if you are living in a place that is high-end, and not high-end, but in a low-lying area, and you know that the place have history of flooding, it is no longer a political joke. It is no longer just a statement. The El Nino is real, and the risk of flooding is high. If you stay in a place that you have the risk of, you're feeling there is a risk of flooding, if you can move, the better. If you can move, the better. I know some people have even reached out to me telling me, Kevin, I stay in place. I can't even remember the name. I want to move and I can't get a means. Yes, and that has just reminded me about that. Let us be sensitive to the fact that flooding is real. I know some of us might just be seeing in the TV, it's something happening. The scenes are very horrible. And we've lost 76 Kenyans on this. As the political class is dangling whether they are going to give you relief food or not, they will just come after the incident. It will just come after flooding. So if you stay in a place, kindly move. This is not an analysis. This is a public service announcement. Remember, yeah, we also need to inform you. We also need to warn you. That is our space, and that is why we are in this. Now, the audit of the program's housing plan is something that cannot be explained even by state officers. There is something that William Ruto cannot explain to the public, is whether the 1.5% that has been levied from, deducted from workers and matched by the employers, to some extent, it has helped solve the housing problem. Because I want to ask, part of what has been said is that we want to eradicate slums, so that even those who stay in slums will have dignified life. Now, we have collected it for, I think, this is the 5th month, if I'm not wrong. It was backdated to July, so it had July, August, September, October. This is November. 5 months. How many people have moved out of Kibera slums to occupy any affordable, even 2 or even 3? How many? None. And it will not exist. What will exist is a data about how many people have been employed in Mjengo. And that is why during the State of the Nation address, the president made an impromptu visit in a site, I think in Ruiro. And he went there and spoke with the people working. If you remember that video, he spoke with the people that were employed there, you know, the fellows who are the masonry, the Watonjengo, the fundis. He's never spoken. I'm yet to see an interview where William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, visits someone who is just occupying the house for the first time, affordable housing house. Mwenye sasa namtembelea kwa sababu ya hii, mimi nimepata nyumba, bila hii project singepata nyumba, and now I've gotten it. I'm yet to see that. That answer is not there, and that is what Kenyans, in fact, the question that Kenyans will start asking Ruto, where are the houses? Give us the houses. You know, because the truth here, the houses do not belong to the hustlers. The houses belongs to the upper class. The hustlers are told jobs belong to them. Maybe. Number two, that housing levy creates a class war. And that is what I've seen in the judgment. The judges are asking, why are you subtracting money from salaried Kenyans while you are not subtracting the same from people in the informal sector? Simply because it is convenient and easy to get it from the salaried fellows, but the informal sector is not. In fact, let me tell you the gospel truth. People in the informal sector are making huge money. The disposable income is likely higher than even people in the formal sector. It's true. I want you to imagine someone who is owning some hardware. Someone who is owning a hardware, and you know how much that person get. I want you to get to someone who is in the castle business. Someone owning a kayak in Mombasa, you know. How much are those people making? Can you even compare that person with the director in a ministry? You cannot. So it is very true that, and I agree with what the judges are saying. If it can't, because there is no way you can take money from already overtaxed salaried civil servants to build houses for the rest of the country. It doesn't really make sense. So already it will create that. He knows very well that everyone in government offices, even these judges, for example, and let me tell you, you know, even these judges and the people in the higher cadre, they have houses, they have mortgages. Even those who already have their own housing plan, they are paying, they are saving on how they can build their houses. They are part of this, while they don't even need those houses. And that is why the team was asking for voluntarily. Now, number three, William Ruto was a bit shocked and had to swing into action because he realized that the forces behind that litigation can thrive in judiciary. Yes. You know, those who did that petition were supported. Some of them were supported by some civil society organizations. Some of them were supported by well-wishers. Some of them were supported by their political party networks. So that is why Ruto realized that, look here, the judiciary could be doing something. I remember the other day when there was an event and the judges, I think the Martha Koome was saying that despite of a promise for the budget out of the 3.6 trillion budget of the country, despite the fact that judiciary is the third arm of government, it receives in the tune of 20 billion for them. Out of that 303 point something trillion, judiciary only receives something in the tune of 3 billion, that 20 billion. They were even complaining that the money is not sufficient to help in access to justice. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. Let's leave it there, and we pick it up tomorrow. I remind you, even if you're staying, you know, you have a relative who is staying somewhere where they are at risk of flooding, kindly support them so that they can move to a raised grounds, because this issue of El Nino is real. Thank you.